Hey, everybody, good morning to you. It is Thursday morning. I mean, we're heading toward the weekend, a Labor Day weekend.
A long weekend.
Well, that's good news
Unless
for
you're
all
a
of us.
youth, then you have a full weekend.
Well, then it's extra long.
Yes.
in a different kind of way.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. This is the 7 at 7, and we're talking about family stuff across the next several weeks, and we're glad that you're here to join us. Today, I want to talk about Jiminy Cricket.
Okay. Which comes from Pinocchio.
Which, back to Pinocchio, we kind of started there before. You remember the
Yes.
story? He's a wooden boy. He wants to become a real boy. One of the things, evidently, that wooden boys don't have is a conscience, and so he's given Jiminy Cricket to be his conscience.
Enter the cricket.
Yeah, enter the cricket. And so today I want to talk a little bit about conscience, and I want to start with this big question. What is our conscience?
Right, which is a tricky question. And at some point, your kid's going to ask you the exact same question. So as a parent, you should have an answer for that, right?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
So, of course, we believe that that is the voice of God inside of us, telling us what's right and wrong.
That's exactly right. And as we grow and mature, we learn to respond to that in different kind of ways. Some people get callous to their conscience, like they just don't want to hear the Holy Spirit anymore. They don't listen.
Quit talking to me.
Or we can help our kids to develop a conscience that is a heart that's sensitive to their conscience and sensitive to the Holy Spirit's leading in their life. And I guess that's the thing that I want to push toward today. That as parents, one of our big roles in helping our kids to have a great relationship with God is to learn to listen to the Holy Spirit speak to them through their conscience, whatever vocabulary we want to put it, that says something about what's right and wrong and what's good and what's beautiful, what's worth celebrating. And there's a lot of ways that the Holy Spirit speaks to us, even from a very young age. And as parents, one of our big roles is helping our kids to identify that's why I feel what I feel, or I'm thinking what I'm thinking about what's right and wrong or good or whatever the case may be.
And as a parent, you're going to want to really work on this craft as well. Because what we know as parents is early on, we have this great sense of authority, right? Like we physically outpower our children. So we can literally make them do something if we are asking them to do it. So we have this strong sense of physical authority. But at some point, your child is bigger than you. And you're not going to have the same sense of authority over them. What you're going to want is a strong power of influence, right? And so as you're hoping and crafting this conscience within your kid, helping them to listen to the Holy Spirit, you're also growing deeper in your connection with your kid and helping grow a stronger influence, because later on, they're going to be out and about doing their own things.
Right, sure.
And you're going to hope that you have some influence to help guide them to listen to the Holy Spirit then when you're not right there saying, hey, listen.
That's exactly right. Like there is some sense in which what we're trying to do is prepare them for the day when we take the reins of their life. We've been trying to give direction to their life.
Right.
And we're going to hand it off to God and say, God's the one that should call the shots. God's the one that directs your life. Maybe as your mom or dad, I made the rules and told you what to do. But as you're growing up, my goal all along has been to give you over to God and to trust you to follow Him instead of follow me. And sometimes you'll hear people say things like, man, I wish I knew what my dad would do in this situation. I wish I knew what my mom would do in that situation. And those are fine sentiments. But really, we want our kids by the time they graduate from high school to be thinking the question, what would God do in this situation? What would He have me do? He's the authority. He's the one I'm listening for and listening to in my life.
And His plan is the plan I want to follow, right? And the plan we want our children to follow.
Yeah, right. Okay, so in the life of our littles, our 4s and 5s and 6-year-olds, like what are the kinds of things that we can do early on to begin to cultivate this sense of, hey, you should listen to your conscience. That's God speaking to you, saying things to you. How can we help them to begin to identify what it is they're thinking and feeling in those younger years?
Right. So in the early times, I think you're literally trying to stop them in the moment, right? If you are watching your kid from afar, if they're in their room doing some things, you can usually tell when they're up to no good. One, it's quiet, so you better go find them if it's quiet. But even in the moment where someone's about to make a decision, there's typically some sort of pause. Right? Like they're thinking about it. And in that moment, you want to be in those kind of spots to say, what are you thinking about? Would that be a good choice? Would that not be a good choice? Why would that be a good choice? Why would that not be a good choice, right? So if you can catch them in those moments, of course, those are great times. But even after that, there's still this great sense of questioning. I think about the garden, Adam and Eve, right? Like after the whole apple thing went down, and they hear God's voice, like they immediately run and hide. Yeah. So they knew something was wrong. We see the same thing with our kids, right? When they're up to no good or they had just done something that they shouldn't have done, they kind of run and hide from you. Like, what just happened? What did you just do, right? And it's not this, I don't want to tell my parents because I'm afraid I'm going to get in trouble, right? Like, there's
Right. It's
more
something
to
deeper,
that.
right.
And so you got to lean into that as a parent and not come off, it's tricky because you are the judge at that moment, right? But you got to lean into the feeling of that. Like, sometimes we need to sit in our guilt for just a little bit to know what that feels like before we start trying to fix those sorts of things.
Yeah, you've got to be wise, and certainly you don't want to be manipulative with this, but manipulative about this. But I think there are times when you just ask your kids, well, how did that feel when you did that thing that was wrong? Right? Did you feel some sense that wasn't the right thing? And I think they know, they will. Yes, their conscience said something to them, and they may have ignored it or run past it. The reason they're hiding is their conscience has caused them to feel this sense of like that wasn't the right thing to do. And I think there's moments when, as a parent, you lean in and you just say, hey, you know that thing you felt? You know that's God's whispering to you to say, don't go this route, go the right way. And I love you, and I want what's best for you. That's the reason God gives you these feelings. And helping to give definition to that when they're young helps them to understand that there's not just a conversation going on with them and their parents. There's a conversation going on with them and God. You know, and then this sort of sets us up to the other piece that, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow, and that is that as they grow older, there comes a point where they're understanding their conscience and God is enough that they really do feel guilty about what they did, and they know that their guilt didn't just because they disappointed mom and dad, they disappointed God, and now they feel that sense that they need to get something right with God. And then that kind of leads to a next big step. But for today, I think we just want to encourage you as a parent to be aware that there's a conversation going on with your kids and God all the time, that they have a conscience, and it's a lot better than a cricket, who is there loving them and God speaking hope into their lives all the time, and also helping them to know what's right and what's wrong. And even from a young age, this is going on in their life, and it's a good thing to know you're not alone in the battle.
Absolutely.
Right? God's working in your life, their life, trying to help them become all they can be. As a parent, as a church, one of our things to do is to help them to identify that voice that they're hearing, that small, still voice in their heart, is the voice of a good God that loves them and wants what's best for them. And when He speaks, they can trust it and they should follow it, even if it's not what they kind of want to do, even if it's a difficult choice, that God is there. All right. Well, those are big thoughts for
Huge thoughts.
Thursday morning. You mull those today as you go through your day. We'll look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Love you guys.